Hi, I'm Emily with 89.1 KCLC. Today I am joined by John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm perfectly honest. I'm just getting up, so I'm a little bleary-eyed. But I was up very late last night, so um, you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little incoherent.
You're good. But you guys have upcoming shows at the Pageant October 17th and 18th. You've also played at the Pageant before in St. Louis back in 2022. What's
Yeah,
your favorite thing about the venue and coming to St. Louis?
I mean, it's a really, I've been to shows at the pageant, and played the pageant a bunch of times now. It's really, it really feels like a big deal. It's just like it's a really amazing big stage, and uh, the nicest thing about it is I think like, when we're at our best, we can really deliver a kind of a great show there. There's nothing, a lot of places we play, there's sort of strange impediments to putting on the show. Like, I mean, actual physical impediments. Like you can't see a third of the audience, and you're just thinking, wow, like I wish I didn't see like heads cut off on the perimeter of the place we're in. But it's just a fun show. It's a really great theater.
Yeah, I've seen great concerts there, and it is a really nice venue to play.
Yeah, it's got great sound. It's got great sidelines. It's just one of those places, and it's also like half. It's like half the audience is sitting down and half the audience is standing up, and I think they actually get energy from one another for different reasons. Like we've done a lot of festivals, and sometimes when you're playing for festivals where people are very far away from you and they're all standing up, you kind of realize like you're you're almost like waking up a dinosaur a little bit. Like it's just like people's reactions can be really slow because they're constantly being distracted. When you have a sit down audience, they're very tuned into you, the way they would at any theatrical experience. So their reactions are really tight. They can be really focused, and they'll sort of react to things that happen on stage in a really lively way. And then the standing crowd is just very physically, they'll be dancing and physically involved. So it's like it's sort of the best of all possible worlds.
Yeah. And your first album came out in 86, and you guys have pretty much been nonstop touring ever since. So, do you guys have a secret of keeping the band going for that long?
Be semi broke for your entire life, and you'll be fine.
It sounds like great advice.
No, I mean we've done a lot of road work for sure, but I don't think we have it perfected. We like playing shows, and it's a really interesting challenge to do a good show.
And one of my favorite albums you guys did was Venue Songs, where you made songs live on stage at every venue and city you played in. How do you guys come up with that concept? Because I've never heard of another band doing something like that.
I would like to hear another band do it. Emily, I think you're a constituency of one. Uh, this is one of the well, I mean, it wasn't unsuccessful. I thought it was like artistically, it was very successful. We went on this tour and we were playing in a lot of venues we had already played. So we just thought, wouldn't it be, and maybe we're even thinking like we're kind of going on the road a little soon after the last time we were on the road. So why don't we sort of challenge ourselves, and we'll just do at the top of the show, we'll do a little song about the venue we were in or about the town we're in. And we would just work it out with the band at sound check. We'd sort of prep it. And a lot of times we were kind of jumping off like the, what our incidental experience with the venue was, or our history in that town. I mean, there's a couple of songs on that set that are really pretty fun. I mean, there's one called Hollywood that's about the Hollywood House of Blues that's kind of about like they're all just it was a very lighthearted project, but it's just I don't know. There's a I'm trying to think about the one oh the what is the one about St. Louis? Is it about what venue is it about? Mississippi Nights? Um,
It
there,
might have been.
yeah. That's got a good one, and
Yeah.
you know, there's just a lot of memorable ones.
Yeah. And speaking of memorable songs, do you have like a top three songs you've written for the band?
Oh, not really. No, I mean it's we know what the audiences are. When we talk about doing shows, like we'll often say like like what the front row is into and what the back row is into, and sort of think about it in terms of like what the experience is like for people who are coming to the show, having if they've never seen our show versus like like if they're like somebody drag their friend along to our show, like what would their experience be like? But I mean, we have popular songs, but there's songs of ours that are really well known that we almost never play live. Not like we don't really play "Boss of Me" from Malcolm in the Middle. Um, I guess I'm not sure why we don't. I mean, we could even do a 30-second version of it and just kind of do it, but in some ways, it sort of feels like it's not exactly us. I mean, it was written for a show and it was very tailor made for the energy of that show. Um, but we almost always play Istanbul and Birdhouse. I can't think of it. I can't remember a show where we haven't played both of those songs. But I think we'd be kind of a different band if we didn't do those songs. And we try to figure out ways to, like right now, we actually have three quite different ways of presenting Istanbul. So we rotate the three like every night. So if you come back a second night, you won't hear the same Istanbul arrangement that we did the night before. So it's even kind of gotten a little bit baroque.
And speaking of Istanbul, how do you guys choose to cover that song? Because I didn't know it was a cover at first.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, in a way, I feel like the fact that people didn't perceive it as a cover sort of speaks to, you know, what a nice fit it was for us. Um, it was a song from the '50s. It's basically kind of a knockoff of the song "Puttin' on the Ritz," um, and it was just a kind of a novelty hit in the '50s. And when we started doing it, we, I think we were booked on like our second national tour of the U.S. and we were playing in a bar in Norfolk, Virginia, and it was like a lot of the days of the week, it was actually like just like a place where like cover bands would play. And one of the things that was weird about the contract is we had to play for 2 hours. So, and we couldn't repeat in the contract. It said you have to play for 2 hours and you can't repeat songs or something. And we were coming from New York City where we were playing 25-minute sets. And I mean, nobody knew any of our songs, but it was not like we just didn't have that much material. So we actually really quickly put together songs that we knew that were really simple, and both "Wide as the Sunshine" and "Istanbul" kind of came out of that experience. Um, I knew the song from being a kid. My mom and my aunt would play it on the piano. It was in a book of sheet music in the piano bench. So that's how I knew the song. And we didn't really have, it was like a very pre-internet relationship to a song because we didn't really have a cover of it. Like we didn't have a recording of it to reference. It was just this two-chord song that we kind of half knew, and we kind of bashed it together. And there are parts of the original recording that are really different than. I mean, they do it really slow, actually. So, and it's just a very different kind of vibe than the way we do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned doing the song for Malcolm in the Middle. You've also done Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and a bunch of other children's albums.
Yep. And we
How
did
is it?
we also did the Daily Show music for like 10 years. So like, we've done a lot of, adult, adult TV
Yeah.
themes as well.
So,
You were in that industry for a while.
yeah, you did TV and you also did a song in Coraline also, so you've done movies. How's the song process different writing songs for TV and children's shows versus regular They Might Be Giants songs?
Well, most of the time we're doing something original. I mean, we've worked in advertising and radio and TV and doing themes and incidental music, and it's like we did a lot of that in the aughts. Uh, it's a lot, you have a client. Like it's a lot more like a regular job. In a weird way. I worked as a graphic designer before the band took off for like a long time, like 5 years in my 20s, and that's that is a creative job, but there's always somebody that you're doing it for, and I think that was actually very good training for working in television and advertising, because you just it's like being a tailor, really. Like you're just figuring out what they need, what's going to really suit their thing. We did this huge job for Dunkin' Donuts. We did like 25 different songs, 25 different, not they weren't jingles exactly, they were original songs. But you know, what they were trying to accomplish was like very kooky, but it was like a really interesting challenge. And I don't know, it was just, they're good jobs and bad jobs. I mean, just like anything else, but like it's definitely like working for somebody else. It's definitely
Yeah.
writing for a project, and you really want to amplify whatever the vibe that they want to put out. So it is different than writing a song just off the top of your head.
And They Might Be Giants, you guys have a really distinct sound. Like, if I heard you on the radio, I would know it's you guys. Did that sound come naturally, or do you try different styles at first?
Well, it's funny because I think we think of ourselves as having like a we're trying to challenge ourselves to do as like many kinds of styles as we feel like we're capable of. But I know what you mean. I mean, I think everybody has their limitations. Our voices are kind of nasally, um, and but I mean, we've gotten better at singing over the years. I don't know. It's like we approach songs. I think we're fond of like melody and harmonizing, and we're interested in song structures. So there's something a little bit old fashioned about the way the songs are put together, like in terms of verses and choruses. Like it's not just a monolithic. I think we live in a era that's sort of post hip hop informed, and there's a lot of fascinating things to me about hip hop production and aesthetics. I'm a really big fan of a lot of that kind of production, but it's I think ultimately, like when we're ultimately, I guess people perceive us as like a song based project, and that's cool.
And do you guys have a favorite song to play live that you put on the set list and you're like, yes, I get to play it tonight?
We've been playing songs for so long, like things have come in and gone out, and I mean, the best the best strategy we have for staying psyched about what we're doing is actually taking on. It's almost the opposite. It's like we've taken on all this repertoire. We're playing like we've got like 85 songs or something in rotation right now. So every night we play. A big challenge, for touring bands is like you want to have a tight show. You want to really like show people that like you care about what you're doing. You're rehearsed. Everybody knows. Everybody on stage is like together playing. But like, and so what bands often do is they come up with a set list at the beginning of a tour, and they play it, and then they're like, they're on the road for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or a month or whatever, and the first shows are great, and then slowly over the course of like that tour, they just get bored with themselves, and so like the real challenge is like figuring out how to not be not go like, oh, we got to do this again. Like even if you love the song, playing it night after night after night, it's very easy to go, oh, this is not. Yeah, it's just like, okay, I hope there's something good on Netflix after the show. So, um, what I mean, really, this is not exactly a strategy. It's just like extra effort, but we've really concocted like three shows. And so every night we're kind of coming back to something that we haven't really addressed except a couple of nights earlier. So there's always kind of this new show vibe. I mean, it might seem like we're always slightly under rehearsed, but really it's like a way to keep it fresh for ourselves. And I don't even know, and it affects everything. It affects the way we talk between songs, because we haven't completely memorized what's coming next. It's not like doing like a music under glass or a theater piece. Like the show is actually quite lively, and it gives us kind of like that new show vibe, even when we're weeks into a tour.
Yeah. And you guys were early on with technology. You did dial a song where people could call in and listen to a new song
Mhm.
every day. And you also did mailing lists. Now, with AI involved in music, are you guys playing with new technology or are you kind of staying analog?
Uh, I mean, AI is really contentious. I find a lot of AI stuff super creepy, in that uncanny valley way. So I'm not exactly a fan. I wouldn't say I'm like, uh, I'm not a total hater. I work with people who, like hate AI with the light of a thousand suns. Um, but it's always interesting when there's an emerging technology if you can figure out a way to work with it that's fun. And I guess in general, when we've done stuff, kind of jumped into the deep end of some kind of emerging technology, it's really just for fun, because it's like a little trampoline you can jump on and get some ideas and put some new stuff together. But you know, I, AI isn't really like that. I mean, I actually know a guy who does really interesting, very funny, uh, creative work with AI, but he's like, I mean, his interest and his output and his aesthetic are so unique to him. I mean, almost he's really like a satirist. So to work with AI stuff, it's like this way of putting together almost like a kind of uh, musical satire that is even more vacuum sealed and extra. The uncanny valley of it almost complements what he's about, but it's not really for us. I think people would. I know for a fact our audience would be epically bummed out if we got into AI.
Yeah. There are some bands I've seen that embrace AI and
Oh,
then,
really? How does that work? Now
yeah,
you got to tell me, like, how does it manifest itself?
a lot of, well, they either include it in their music or music videos, and I'm also one of the people that I'm not a huge fan of it. So I really like the analog music
Uh-huh.
of people creating it, not exactly a machine.
Well, the machine part is all ripped off from people.
Yeah.
So there are people in there. They've just been chopped up.
Yeah. And I know you have a solo project. So aside from touring, what other kind of projects are you working on?
Oh, we're not really. Almost all of our energy is going into They Might Be Times. We just finished a new album. I don't know when it'll be out, but it's actually very exciting because I think it's a really superior effort. We put a lot of time into it, and it's very rocking. So I'm just very excited about this new They Might Be Trans album. That's really my. I just met with Paul Sayre, our graphic designer. When I said that I work with somebody who really hates AI, our Paul Sayre, who's he's a very big wheel in graphic design, and we've been working with him for over a decade now. Um, he teaches graphic design, and a lot of people in the world of graphic design are neck deep in AI, and he hates it.
Well, I'm excited to hear the new album when it comes out.
Oh,
What is
it's
your
gonna be great.
what's your favorite part of playing St. Louis?
It's just been a great town for us. It's funny, like when we first played there, excuse me, um, it was kind of like it was kind of dead. Like there was a promoter in Kansas City who was very ambitious, and we would do these big shows in Kansas City and get a great response, and then come to St. Louis, and it always seemed like, I mean, for the first like couple of years we were touring, it was kind of a dud, and it was a little awkward. And then we did a show we did Point Fest, and I think we were really in like the middle of the day, in the middle of this big festival, and it really, I don't think we had ever really done a festival show that was that. I mean, we did festivals early on in Germany that were like where I think we probably seemed very lost. And then we did Point Fest, and it just really went over. Like it was just a really good show, and we were in front of a ton of people, and it seemed like people totally got it. So we've always had sort of like a special relationship with St. Louis, just because the radio station really got behind us, and they just folded us into everything else. I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, it was a very different time in terms of commercial alternative radio, but it was still like we weren't a natural fit at all. I mean, it'd be like, coming up, Limp Bizkit, and They Might Be Giants. It's like, oh, okay, well, good, fine.
And I know you guys are playing two nights here with no opener and two different sets each night. So, what can St. Louis fans expect at these shows coming up?
Um, well, I don't want to spoil too much. We do kind of keep the ball rolling. We do these album spotlights from the first set. So we might be playing, Flood in the first set, like 10 songs from Flood or 12 songs from Flood. And then the second set is like more like a traditional show. So in a certain way, we really are opening for ourselves, because the opening part is much more wide open. It's like a deep dive into something, and then like the second set is like all the audience favorites of, like, from the entire span of our career. But it's a big show. Like we got three horn players, and we do a lot of different kinds of we approach things in a lot of different ways with the horn players. There's stuff that's really charted out. There are these like improvisational things that are just sort of built into the show. It's we cover a lot of ground.
And once again, you guys have two shows at the pageant, October 17th and 18th. Get your tickets. Thank you so much for joining me today.
First night's already sold out, and I think the second night might be going soon. So don't sleep on this, man. We want to see it.
Yeah, go get your tickets.
Thank you for doing all the heavy lifting, Emily.
You're welcome. No problem. Have a great day.
Okay, adios.